Right now, if you want to get from Manchester to Edinburgh, it takes over 3 hours by train, longer than the total journey time to Paris, Newcastle to Liverpool, nearly 3 hours. About the same as driving, but both cities can reach London in under 3 hours on fast, direct lines. That's not a bug in the system. That's the system. Every major rail line in Britain points to London like spokes on a wheel. It's a Victorian design, and it's still running the country. But what if someone just said, forget London, build a ring? That's exactly what the president of the Royal Institute of British Architects just proposed. The Loop, a £130 billion, 300 mape railway ring connecting 9 cities across Scotland, England, Wales, and Ireland. It would turn the north into a single connected powerhouse with 10 million people the size of Tokyo. There's one massive problem. Britain can't even finish HS2, a single line that's already been cut in half. So how could this possibly work? Let's look at the plan. The idea is to link Edinburgh and Glasgow, Newcastle, Leeds, Manchester, Liverpool, and Bangor and Wales, and then it crosses the water to Dublin and Belfast. The pitch is that if you connect them tightly enough, the borders disappear. You could live in Newcastle but work a job in Glasgow. You could base your startup in Leeds but have a 45-minute link to a transatlantic hub in Dublin. But it's the shape that catches your eye. It's not a line or a web, it's a literal ring, a closed loop. And because it's a circle, trains can just keep orbiting in both directions. There's no end of the line where everything slows down, and no single choke point that can break the whole network. These are 50-minute shuttles departing every 5 minutes. It's basically a city metro system, but operating at airline speeds. It sounds perfect, almost too perfect. And that's exactly where the engineers start getting either very excited or very suspicious. The first thing you'll notice about the loop is that it doesn't touch the ground. Instead of cutting through farmers' fields or tearing up existing roads, the proposal puts the railway on massive stone arches. Williamson wants to use pre-tensioned stone using local materials, so the structure looks like it belongs in the British countryside. Think of those iconic Victorian viaducts from the 1800s, but sleek, modern, and carrying 300 MPH trains. By going up, you keep the land underneath usable for farming, parks, or even housing. But there's a massive catch. This isn't just building one bridge over a river. This is a continuous elevated structure running for hundreds of miles through dense cities, over valleys, and then straight across the Irish Sea twice. To complete the circle, you cross over 40 kilometers of open water twice, making each crossing nearly the length of the Channel Tunnel. That's 2 Channel Tunnel scale projects just to close the loop. Politicians have talked about a Scotland to Ireland link for years, but it's never moved past a sketch on a napkin. The loop assumes we just get it done, but as crazy as that sounds, the tracks might actually be the least ambitious part of this whole thing. Because the loop isn't just a railway, the viaducts are designed to double as a massive power grid. The idea is that the ring physically connects Britain's biggest wind energy zones, such as the North Sea, Scotland, and Wales, and acts as a giant ring main to distribute that electricity to the cities along the route. The proposal even suggests plugging in small modular reactors. These are the next mini-nuclear plants that are currently in development. It even hints at using waste heat from this energy infrastructure to heat nearby homes or support industrial greenhouses. At this point, it's a transit network, a power grid, and an industrial platform all rolled into one single physical structure. But imagine the paperwork. You aren't just dealing with rail regulations anymore. You're dealing with energy boards, environmental agencies, and national security all across 4 different governments. You've got England, Scotland, Wales, and a cross-border connection between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. In a part of the world where borders are politically active, getting everyone to sign the same contract is arguably harder than digging the tunnel itself. And that brings us to the most uncomfortable question of all. Who is actually going to pay for this? To put that in perspective, HS2 started at 55 billion, now sitting at 80 billion for phase 1 alone. A 45% overrun with 60% less route. The entire annual budget for the NHS is about $217 billion. The loop sits right in the middle. Williamson's team argues that the economic return would be $12 billion every year. On paper, that means the project pays for itself in just 11 years because of the massive boost to jobs, productivity, and business. But we also have to be honest about the history of mega projects. There is a very consistent pattern. They almost always overestimate the benefits and wildly underestimate the costs. Look at California's high-speed rail. It started at $40 billion and is now pushing past $135 billion with no end in sight. HS2 has seen its costs explode while its actual route keeps getting shorter. The £12 billion return is a projection, not a promise. And as of right now, there's no independent study to back it up. Worse yet, the proposal doesn't say where the money comes from. Is it the taxpayer, private investors, a mix of both? In a country where Scotland is debating independence and the UK government is tightening its belt, the funding question isn't just a detail, it's the entire game. So if the engineering is extreme, the politics are a mess, and the cost is astronomical, why is everyone talking about this? For the last few years, Chris Williamson has been working on the high-speed stations for the line. This is a massive 170-kilometer city in a mirror being built in Saudi Arabia's Neon project. He admits he's been influenced by the scale and the vision of what's happening in the desert. That comparison is exactly what makes people nervous. The line is backed by an authoritarian state with near-infinite oil wealth and a track record of forced displacements. It's not a model for a democratic nation with tight budgets and strict planning laws. Williamson's counterargument is simple. He's just copying the ambition. He's asking why a country like Britain, which practically invented the modern railway, now defaults to thinking small. It raises a question. Can a democracy with 5-year election cycles ever commit to a project that takes 30 years to build? Or is this kind of vision only possible when one person can say yes and make it stick for 3 decades? Let's be real. If you look at the individual parts of the loop, none of them are science fiction. Japan's Shinkansen has been running on elevated tracks for decades. China has mag trains hitting these speeds. The Channel Tunnel proves we can dig under the sea. The tech is there. The unprecedented part is the combination. Getting 9 cities, 4 different governments, and 2 international water crossings to align on a single massive energy and rail ring. That has never been done. And let's look at the data. It took 11 years just to start building HS2, and we've already chopped off more than half the route. The loop would need to survive roughly 6 different changes of government, stay on track through Scotland's independence debates, and keep Ireland and Northern Ireland aligned through whatever political weather comes next. In the current British political climate, that's a taller mountain to climb than any stone viaduct. For the people in Liverpool, Newcastle, or Leeds, this proposal feels heavy. These are cities that have watched London pull ahead for 40 years. They were promised HS2 and saw it vanish. To them, the loop is the hope that they could finally be part of a center rather than just being points on a map that leads south. The truth, the loop probably won't be built, at least not as it's drawn here. Most massive infrastructure proposals don't survive the meat grinder of reality. The loop is a loud, expensive way of saying this shouldn't be normal. It's a reminder that our geography is a political choice, not a natural law. We chose to build this spoken hub system. We chose to make London the only answer to every journey. And we're choosing every year to keep it that way. Whether elevated viaducts ever get built doesn't matter as much as the question Williamson is asking. If we actually decided with real money, real will, and real political commitment to make the North a single connected powerhouse, what would that actually take? For now, it remains exactly what it was meant to be, a provocation. One that asks whether Britain is brave enough to imagine its infrastructure differently. So, what do you think? If you could live in Leeds, work in Glasgow, and visit Belfast for the weekend, all with travel times shorter than your current commute, would that be worth the cost? Or should Britain focus on fixing what's already broken before dreaming this big? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you want to keep track of the most ambitious engineering projects shaping our world, make sure to subscribe to Mega Builds. Thanks for watching.